Welcome to the ExpandHer podcast with myself, Sarah-Louise Sutton. I am an intuitive energy healer, channel, Reiki teacher, coach, and mentor, and founder of the Inspirit School of Energy, here to help you on your spiritual journey, to up-level your vibration, to activate your soul and purpose, and ultimately elevate your life and business. It is my intention that through myself and special guests, talking about all things intuition, guidance, channeling, manifesting, healing, and energetics, that you get expanded, you feel inspired, and you receive a giant hug for your soul. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and it is from my heart to yours that I am sending you so much love. Hello. Welcome back to the ExpandHer podcast. I hope you're doing good right now. I can definitely feel that, or just from speaking to people or my clients, this time of year has been either super expansive for people or it's been super challenging for people. And so, wherever you are, I'm just sending you lots of love and hope you're doing okay. And if you are in the group of people that have been expanding and growing, yay. If you're feeling more of a challenge right now, then just know that it's the same energy, right? It's the same expansive energy, and although it might not feel that way right now, it is still expanding you in some way, shape, or form. And so, sending you lots of love with wherever you are at right now. So in this episode, I do want to speak about a kind of theme that I have seen happening throughout people around me, like friends and people close to me. Also, this is something that I've been doing. And also this came through in the new moon readings that I recorded a couple of days ago. So I don't know when I'm going to release this podcast episode. And so I'm not sure whether those readings will be live or not when I release this. Depends when the new moon was. I'll release them on the day of the new moon. But essentially, this came through in one of those readings, and I could really feel that even though it came through for just one of the kind of zodiac elements, and I can't actually remember which one, I could feel when I was talking about it that this was something that needed to be talked about more. And like I said, this has been a kind of theme as well around me, with some friends, with some clients. I've been going through this with some clients, and this is something that I've been doing myself as well. And it's all about kind of reassessing in your life, not necessarily what's in alignment, what's not, although it could go that far. Like if that's not something you have been doing or you've done recently, I feel like that's always a good practice. But more so assessing how you do everything. It's kind of like we want to create flow in every single area of our life. And flow is kind of attained when you're in alignment with everything you're doing and when you're in alignment with how you're doing it, right? Like the how also needs to be in alignment. So let's say, for example, you have like your habits in your day. Now, just because those habits might be in alignment for you, how and when you're doing them might not be in alignment. Right. And this is something that I was actually looking at, like my habits being one of them and my business being another. But for example, my habits of my movement, although I'm not going to change how I move my body, which is kind of yoga and Pilates, it's like I'm changing around how I do it. So I'm going from in the morning to in the evening because it feels more flow for me to do that. It feels more enjoyable for me to do that. At the moment, it feels a bit kind of, and this is such a rogue word to use, but it feels like almost a bit sticky at the moment. Like it doesn't feel like it flows. It feels like there's, friction. And I've spoken about flow versus friction before, and it feels like friction in the morning at the moment. It feels like I don't want to do it in the morning. And I am blessed enough with my life that I have created and how I have created my business that I have the availability and the freedom to do my movement practice later on in the day. Like, so if I have evening sessions or early evening sessions, I can work around that with when I do my movement practice. The same as I do in the mornings at the moment, right? It's kind of like I'm so lucky that I have that freedom, and I also very much acknowledge that. But for me, it was just like seeing, okay, well, where's friction in my life right now? And I think this is a really good practice to do with every single kind of area of your life. So relationships, so kind of your body, your health, like your well-being, let's say, your daily habits, your daily practices, which to be fair could come under the well-being one, your work, your business, your friends, like other family. And you can also do like hobbies and things that you do on the side, like social time, like checking in with every area of your life and thinking, where do I feel friction? Where do I feel flow? Like what feels really good and what doesn't? And it might be that you realize some things are actually totally out of alignment. It's not even just how you're doing it, it's what you're doing. And if this kind of assessment and this practice highlights that, then great. You might realize that actually it doesn't matter how you do this certain habit in your day, it doesn't feel good. So it's just got to go, right? Maybe you are spending too much time on social media, and it doesn't matter if you do that in the morning, in the evening, in the middle of the day, it doesn't feel good whenever you do it. In which case, this is a great eye opener for you to see something that you're doing that isn't working for you. But I think it's just such a good practice. I know I talk about this all the time with what you're doing being in alignment for you, but I don't think I speak about it enough in terms of how you're doing those things also hugely affects how much flow you feel in your life. Like your life, your work, your social time, your habits, your well-being, it all gets to feel like it's flowing. And I think that like we kind of have low expectations for things like that. We have low expectations of how all these things should feel, right? Like, for example, working out. Like most people wouldn't ever think that that could feel good, but I can guarantee there will be a way of moving your body that feels good to you. And there'll be a way of how you put that in your day that feels good to you. Like there is always, always, always an opportunity for things to feel like flow. Like, I think we just have quite low standards of, life always having to feel hard and always feeling friction or feeling friction in some areas. And although life can bring us challenges 100%, and although life isn't going to feel great all the time, 100%, there is no doubt about that. But there are so many things that you can control to bring so much more flow into your life. Because ultimately, if what you're doing on a daily basis or how you're doing things on a daily basis, if it isn't feeling good and you're doing it regularly, it's massively affecting how you feel. Like, so for example, if you are doing a daily habit, let's say you're working out, but you're working out in a way that doesn't really feel good for you, you're just doing it because it's what everyone else does, or it's just what you think you need to do to, be strong or flexible, whatever it is that you're aiming towards. If that's not feeling good, but you're doing it every day, like that's compounding, right? And actually, what if there was a way of doing that movement or how you do it in your day that feels so good for you? Like what if your meditation practice right now is feeling a bit friction because you're doing it at a certain time in the day? Let's say you're doing it first thing in the morning, but you wake up first thing in the morning, bouncing off the walls, like you've got all of this energy. And so doing your meditation practice first thing in the morning actually isn't feeling good for you, but you're forcing yourself to do it because that's when people meditate. People meditate when they get up in the morning. Like, no. There's a way of doing that that's going to feel so much better for you. Like you don't have to do things the way you've always done them or how everyone does them. Like, there will be a way of you having that meditation practice that feels really in flow for you. Maybe it's before you go to bed. Maybe that will feel better for you. Or like maybe the type of meditation practice that you're doing could also feel better for you. Maybe the style that you've chosen or that you've been doing isn't really feeling great. Then change it. Like, if your journaling practice, when you're doing it, how you're doing it, the style of journaling practice you're doing, because yes, there are so many styles of journaling practice. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it every day. Find a way that it does feel good. Do it at a time that feels more in flow. Like, if you're doing things and you're kind of creating resistance when you're doing them, this isn't good for you. It's not good for your vibration, for your well-being, for how good you feel in your day. Like, the whole point, especially of spiritual practices and, personal development practices, the whole point of them is to help you feel better. And so if your journaling practice, if your meditation practice, if your movement practice, if your energy healing practice, if your tarot card practice, if your tuning into spirit guides practice, if any of these things aren't feeling really great for you when you do them, after you do them, something needs to change. Like, something can change for you to feel in so much more flow. I just really want you to know that there is always a way of doing things that feels so much better. And things change, right? So before, as an example, again, going back to something that I've changed recently, like my movement practice, before mornings worked great for me. Like, that was definitely the most flow at the time that I created my morning practice of moving. And the same with other practices that I've had in the morning. I am someone that always shifts things around because I'm always very aware of what's working, what's not. But, like my meditation practice, I've done it in the mornings. I've also done it in the evenings at times. My journaling practice, I've also done at different times during the day. My energy healings, I've also done at different times during the day. When I tune into guides, I've done at different times during the day. Like, I play around with it until it feels really good. And even if I feel like, right, I've nailed it, I still might change it a few months later. Because what is in alignment for us, what is in the most flow for us, is also going to change because we're changing. The energy that we're in changing, what's around us is changing, what else might be going on in our life is changing. And so just because a habit or a way of doing something has worked for you before, it doesn't mean it always has to be the same. And actually what I do feel too is a lot of the time with these kind of practices, especially with spiritual practices and anything that is of energy and of spirit, I do feel like not necessarily changing things up, but finding a way of bringing even more intention to them regularly is a really helpful thing to do. Like, I do feel like these practices can very easily lose the intention behind them. And so keeping them fresh in some way or another, either maybe changing how you do it, changing when you do it, tweaking things a bit, adding something to it. I think doing things like this is very good for spiritual practice to keep the intention there. Otherwise, it does feel like it gets a bit kind of stale and the intention is lost a bit. And as you know, if you have listened to me chat enough, intention is everything with energy. So the more intention you have with an energy practice, let's say, or a spiritual practice, the more it will give you back. So that's just a total side note. But going back to kind of habits and when you're doing them, it's kind of taking note of your own natural rhythm and when you feel you want to do things, when your energy feels in the right energy to do things. So one thing that I've done a lot with clients over the years at this point is really working how they work around what feels good. So as an example, some of my clients wake up feeling super creative. But yet they might be making themselves do certain practices like meditation or like journaling or movement, and it's kind of like dampening that creativity that they wake up with, right? Instead of working with yourself at the times where you feel these ways. So instead of like dampening that creativity or not letting yourself be creative because you've got to do these other things, how about in the morning is your creative time? That's when you write things, or that's when you draw things, or you use that creativity, you use those ideas and that connection that you have. And maybe you then do the practices that you used to in the morning, in the evening or at lunchtime or another point during the day, that you don't have all that creativity, and it actually feels really organic to go inside at that time. Like, we have cycles within us, and everyone I do feel is unique. And so maybe for you, it's really easy for you to go internal at night. Maybe it's really easy for you to tap into your emotions, how you're feeling at night. And so do your journaling at night. Maybe do your meditation at night, instead of doing it in the morning when your body and your mind and your spirit and your energy is like, oh my God, we've got so many ideas. It's like you start creating this more flowing energy with things in life versus this friction energy. And like I said, it compounds, right? If you're doing something every day that doesn't feel good, even though it should feel good, what you're doing is technically good. If it doesn't feel good for you with how you're doing it and what you're doing, this is compounding and affecting you. But if you were doing something that felt good and felt in alignment and felt in flow, and you're doing it in the most effortless way for you, then that is also compounding, and this is affecting you in a really positive way. Like, when you're literally in so much alignment with your life and everything in it, and how you're doing things, what you're doing, it just feels like you are going on this stream down a river, and it feels like you're fully supported. It feels like flow. And when you're feeling like there's friction and you're coming up against things and it doesn't feel like you're supported, it doesn't feel like there's this flow in your life, it's because it's like you're paddling backwards. You're kind of going against something. And so if you're feeling that way with any area of your life, this is just such a big opportunity, I feel right now, collectively, to just really assess and think about all the different areas and what is in flow, what is working. Celebrate those things first, and then think about the things that aren't. So if you have a business or you work somewhere else, you work for someone, you could also use the same things here. But let's say you have a business and you are marketing yourself in your business. I know that lots of people in my space have their own businesses, and you market yourself, right? Maybe right now you're using social media, and maybe right now that's Instagram, and maybe right now you post 3 reels a week and you do 3 stories a week, or you have an email. It's like, here's a great opportunity to check in with how this feels for you. Does your marketing feel flowy for you? Does it feel flowy? Does it feel easy? Does it feel effortless? Does it feel right? Does it feel like it's working? Does it feel like it's in alignment? Does it feel good? This is such a great opportunity to really sit with each area of your marketing. And like I said, if you don't have your own business, like, you could do this within whatever area you do work in. If you do work, check in with every area that you do, everything that you do. How does that feel? How does each part of it feel? Where's the friction? Like, if there was friction, where would it be? Like, these are some great kind of questions to ask yourself, and think, what would feel easier? What would feel lighter? What would feel like there's more flow there? So it might be that certain types of posts that you do feel really easy, really light, really flowing for you. They feel in alignment for you. It might be that others don't. And this is something that I've really been assessing for a few months, to be honest, but more so really going into it recently within my business as well. All the areas of how I share things, what I share, in the ways that I share them, like what feels good, what feels easy, what feels effortless, what is helping people the most, and then feeling into what maybe doesn't feel that way. Where do I feel some friction? And it's just such an eye-opening experience of like seeing the opportunity to have even more flow in life. Like, even though things feel good in my business and things feel great, it's like there's always an opportunity for more flow. There's always an opportunity to feel even greater. And if you feel good, if you feel in flow, if you feel in alignment, and this is compounding, everything in life feels so much better. Like you go down this stream, like I said, and you feel so much more supported. Like, don't underestimate how much just changing one thing could actually affect you long term and could actually really change how you feel. And if how you feel changes, then as I'm sure you know, what you attract, what comes into your life also changes. Your reality also changes based on how you feel. And so any opportunity to feel a little bit better, to feel a little bit more flow, to feel a little bit more in alignment is going to start changing your reality. And like, why wouldn't you want that? There's just always this opportunity there. And so, yeah, check in your business if you have one, in your work, how you do your work. What feels flow? What feels friction? When you do your admin, when you do your creative time, when you plan things out, how you plan things out, how you structure your day, how you run your sessions if you have sessions. Like I said, how you do your marketing, how you do your posts, what social media platform you're using. Like, check in with everything. There is always an opportunity for more flow, but only if you're kind of asking those questions of like, what feels good, what feels a bit kind of frictiony. The same goes for like social time and time with friends, time with family. Like, this is obviously a bit trickier because there's other people involved, but like one thing that came up for a client the other day is like, they don't enjoy doing things in the evening. Like, that's not when they feel social. Like, that's not when they feel good. So it's like, okay, well, can you start doing lunch dates instead? Can you start doing lunch, catch-ups or coffee catch-ups or weekend catch-ups instead of doing things in the evening when that doesn't feel good anymore? Like, you don't want to be doing that. Instead of going out drinking, instead of going out to bars, how can you change what you do? Can you do dinners instead? Can you do, like I said, brunch dates or coffee dates in the mornings? Like, how can you change even those times to feel better for you and to feel more in flow for you? And obviously when other people are involved, they also need to feel good about it. So maybe not as an easy fix than some other things, but for a lot of people are in the same boat. I also want to say that, as you get older, your friends also get older. And so doing certain things, doing things how you've always done them doesn't necessarily still work for everyone. And, relationships, like what in your relationship feels really good? What feels a bit kind of frictiony right now? What can you change there? How can you change when you spend quality time together? Or, if you're not in a relationship, how can you change? Maybe, let's say you're on dating sites. How can you change that? Does that feel good? Does that feel like it's in flow? Or does there feel like there could be another way that could be easier and feel better for you? Because if you're doing things constantly that just doesn't feel good, it's not in alignment for you. So you're not going to get the best outcome for you. And just because it's what's worked for other people, doesn't mean it's what will work for you. And I think this is just always such a key thing to remember in every aspect of life, is just because that social media strategy worked for one person doesn't mean it will for you. Just because that person met their partner on Hinge doesn't mean it will work for you. Just because most people go out and they have a drink on a Friday night doesn't mean you have to. It doesn't mean it's going to be good for you. Just because people do meditation in the morning doesn't mean that's going to work for you. Like, you are so incredibly unique, and your own body and your own frequency and how things make you feel are always guiding you to your most aligned state and your most flowing state. And when you're in that state, your life will start changing. Things will start happening for you with so much more ease. Opportunities will arrive to you. Financial abundance will arrive easier to you. The relationship you want will arrive easier to you. The clients you want will arrive easier to you. Like, the things that you want will start to come to you with more ease when you are in full alignment. And so, how can you get more into alignment? How can you create more of this flow energy where it just feels like, yes, this is how I should do it. This feels good. Like, let go of what you've been told. Let go of all of those things and just feel into what feels really good for you. Like, a great question to always ask is like, if you didn't know how other people did it, how would you want to do it? And this is a great question for, especially if you have a business and social media. It's like, okay, if you didn't know how anyone else marketed their business, if you didn't know how everyone else did it, what's worked for people, what hasn't worked for people, what would you want to do? What feels good for you? This is a great question to ask yourself, because there is always a way that's in alignment for you to do things. And you just have to really trust that as well, and trust that things can feel better. Like, if at the moment you've got friction in some area of life, things can feel better. You can change things. And like I said, maybe just thinking about this makes you think that some things are actually just so out of alignment, they just need to go. You know, maybe a certain group of friends are just, then they're not working for you. It doesn't matter when you see them. It doesn't matter how you see them. Like, it's not working. You know that they're not good for you. In which case, great. This is a great thing to also really acknowledge. Maybe you realize certain things in your business that are pretty big things, like, you know, the direction you're going or what you focus on or who you work with. Maybe you realize things like that big aren't in alignment anymore. Again, this is a great eye-opening thing, and something I think we always need to reflect on, because again, we are always growing, we're always expanding. What's worked for us once doesn't necessarily mean it will keep working for us. And so parts of your business might have to go for you to stay in alignment, for you to find that flowing energy, to find that feeling of like going downstream where you're fully supported with life. Like, this is how things happen so much quicker, so much easier for you when you just make these little tweaks into alignment. And the thing is, and I know I say this so many times, I feel like a broken record, but also like it's so key. It just takes a small shift energetically to make such a huge difference. Such a huge difference. It just takes a tiny tweak on social media for everything to change. It just takes a tiny tweak in your morning practice for you to start feeling all of the benefits of it. It just takes a tiny tweak in how you feel on a daily basis, or a belief that you're holding, or a little shift in your energy field or your frequency. It just takes a tiny shift and everything in your life can change for the better. Like, please trust that. So even though like these things that I'm saying might not feel like a big deal, it might feel like it doesn't matter, but something that you do every day or something that you do regularly compounds, and it does affect you over time. And there is a way that can feel even better if it's not feeling good right now. And it only takes a really small energetic shift for everything to change. It really, really does. And so, yeah, don't underestimate the power of changing how you do things. Just deeply know that, you know, especially something that you're doing all the time, especially something that you're doing, you know, daily or multiple times a week, don't underestimate how just changing something with it can hugely affect you, because it really does. And you absolutely deserve to feel good on a daily basis. You deserve to feel in flow. You deserve to feel supported. You deserve to feel like life is flowing to you, like your soul, your spirit, your entire spirit team want you to feel that. Like, because that is absolutely your birthright to feel that way. And they're guiding you there as well. Like, your spirit team are helping you find your alignment and your path and what's going to work for you. And so listen to the signs, you know, listen to those niggles that you have that something might not be working. Listen to the niggles that something needs to change. Right? Like, as I said, just because it's worked before does not mean it will always work. Like, if you've been around here for a while, you will see how many changes I've made in my life, in my business. But especially a big one is that I used to have a clothing brand, and that was my first step into um, entrepreneurship, I guess you would call it, and having my own business. And it was so in alignment for years. I think 3 or 4 years I had that business, and it was so perfectly in alignment to the extent that everything happened for me. It was the easiest thing to create. It was the easiest thing to market, to feel like people wanted. Like, it was just such a beautiful brand, an easy brand to have, because there was so much alignment there. And yet, um, the last year I had it, I could feel the friction building. I could feel that things weren't feeling the same. And there is an entire podcast on this, I think, episode on this kind of story of me closing it down. But I could just feel that things weren't right with it anymore, and my energy didn't want to go into it. My energy didn't want to work on it, even though, like, that last year was the best year I had with it. The success didn't matter. It didn't feel the same. It didn't feel right. Something felt off, and it felt, again, this like sticky friction energy towards it. Whereas my own brand, my own business, my coaching at the time felt so flowing. It felt so good. It felt so effortless. It felt so easy. I wanted to work on it. That was where my heart and my soul was. And so even with that, like, that was such a hard decision, but yet, like, it also wasn't, because I just knew that it wasn't in alignment anymore. And so many people cling on to things like that because they have worked, just because they have once been that thing for them. And, as soon as I did make that decision, I let it go. It closed with such, like, I sold out within 2 days of the closing announcement, and or it was something like 2 days. It was a very, very short amount of time. What I thought would take months to clear the stock took days, which is also wild. And so fully supported with that decision. And then my coaching business just went to a whole new level when I let that go, because it's like I created that space, I created that alignment, I created that flow again. And, the same with certain things in my business, of social media shifts or changes or things I've added, things I've taken away, sessions that I've changed that I used to offer that I don't offer anymore. Like, things just, there's been so many, and they'd seem small changes from the outside, but obviously when it's your business, they feel like very big changes. But every time I've made them into one more step, more into alignment for myself, made that little step so much more flowing and it feel more right for me. Every time I've done something like that, there's been expansion in my business. There's been a big leap up. There's been a big step up. Like, it's always had a result. It's always changed something in my reality because of it, because I've always made this shift towards alignment. And so, like, I just want to reassure you that even though things feel small, they're not. They're not. Anything that changes something in your energy is not small. It can have a huge effect. And just because something's worked doesn't mean it always will. Just because something felt great doesn't mean it always will feel great. And, some things are meant to be for life. Some things are just meant to be chapters. And there is reason behind that, always. Something would have always come from that. But it's just, basically such an opportunity right now that I can just really feel. And I don't know if this is from something going on planetary wise, or if this is just something I'm feeling around me, and that collective energy is making it even more heightened. But it just feels like right now there's just such an opportunity to really assess everything in your life. Really look at all the different areas of your life, and then all of the little things within that. Like the people you spend time with, where you spend time with them, what you do with them, every aspect of your business, your social media, your website, how you say things, how you talk about things, how you have your sessions, let's say, like every single aspect of that, your day, your habits, your rituals, what you do, how you do them. Think about everything and think how or what currently doesn't feel flowy. What currently do I feel some resistance with, some friction with? How can I make that feel even better? How can I improve that? How can I bring flow? What's my alignment in this? And if I didn't know how other people did it, how would I want to do it? Like, how can this feel even better for you? How can it feel even better? And it's not taking away that things aren't good now. Like, never let that be your energy. But, if there is an opportunity for something to feel even greater, even more flow, even more alignment, then let's take that opportunity. Let's not leave that on the table. And so, this is just a huge invitation to you to just check in with everything. And I know that, I talk about alignment a lot and checking in with things, but I think even just hearing some examples is always really helpful to kind of get those niggles of your own to the forefront, right? I always love hearing about other people and the shifts they've made. It always sparks things within me. And so, hopefully just kind of going into some of my own examples, but other examples in this episode has made you think about the things in your life and in the areas of your life and what is working, what isn't working. Hopefully this has helped in some way, or just made you realize that everything in your life is dreamy, flowy, flow state alignment. And if that is the case, I'm also so happy for you. So it's also that. So yes. So also wanted to say, I have just released this is a new one, different to the last episode, free energy healing journey and visualization journey. And this one is to help you with grounding your energy. So really about grounding, focusing, anchoring, rooting your energy, basically. And this is a mixture of energy healing, transmission, and also visualization, like meditation. So it's 30 minutes long. Like, these journeys are a bit longer than a normal meditation, but so much more powerful as well because of it, because I'm actually sending energy through the video, through the meditation itself. So you will feel this, like, whenever I've been doing this grounding one the last few days, well, not today actually, you might be able to tell, but whenever I do it, I go into such a deep state. It's super powerful. So it's really great if you are feeling a bit unfocused, a bit scattered, a bit ungrounded. Ultimately, if you're feeling like you're just struggling to concentrate, struggling to do things, you can't get out of your head, like, all of this a lot of the time is being ungrounded. It's ungrounded energy. It can also be other things, of course, but these are all symptoms and signs of being ungrounded, which just means your energy is a lot higher in your higher chakras and more kind of concentrated around those areas versus ultimately your lower chakras and your root area, and being balanced around your energy body. And so in this healing, I really focus on helping you balance your energy out again. And so, I will put the link into the show notes for that. Like I said, it is free. And I am obsessed with the love that has been coming through on the last one. So hopefully this one is just as powerful and well received. And if I am releasing this episode after the new moon, depends how long I take to edit it, then there will also be the new moon readings available. So I will release them on the day of the new moon. So it might be in a couple of days' time. It might have also just been a couple of days ago. So if it is past the new moon, then definitely check those out. I am now doing 4 readings every new moon, one for each element of the zodiac. So water, fire, air, and earth. So depending on what your sun sign is and your rising sign, there is a reading there for you. So I will also put the links for those in the show notes if it's out. Otherwise, just keep an eye out for those. If you're on my email list, I will probably email them out, and they will also be on my Instagram. So yes, hopefully if you give them a watch, they can bring you some guidance for the month ahead. So let me know how this episode landed for you. Any realizations that you've had about things in your life. I would love to hear. Honestly, it brings me so much joy having kind of conversations with you in my DMs. So definitely get in touch. Don't be a stranger. My DM door is always open, let's say. And as always, if you feel like you have a friend or someone that you think would also enjoy this episode, I would love for you to share it. It supports me hugely. And if you also have time to leave a review on Spotify or on iTunes podcasts, whatever it's called, then I would also be incredibly, incredibly honored and grateful for you to leave a review, because again, it supports this podcast so much. So yes, thank you so much for being here. And I'm sending you lots and lots of love, and happy reassessing everything and getting everything back into so much flow. Sending you so much love.